Hi, I'm Chuck Colson with this week's 2-Minute Warning. Next week, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals will hear oral arguments in Perry v. Schwarzenegger. That's the California so-called gay marriage case. I can't remember a time when any case posed a greater threat to the democratic process, the natural moral order, or religious liberty. Now listen carefully, please. It's crucial we be well-informed and actively engaged. The case comes to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals because one federal district judge ruled that Proposition 8 was unconstitutional. Proposition 8, you may remember, was approved by 52% of California voters last year, amending the state constitution to define marriage as between one man and one woman. The district court's ruling is not only legally flawed, it's patently dangerous. And here's why. As argued in a brief filed by the Alliance Defense Fund, the judge ruled that the evidence presented showed no historical purpose for defining marriage as being between members of the opposite sex. That's ridiculous, foolish. As ADF showed, the judge ignored every legal precedent in which state and federal appellate courts found that restricting marriage to a man and a woman had a rational basis in law and that the state had an interest in defining marriage that way. The judge also ruled that Proposition 8 enacts without reason, these are his words, a private moral view that same-sex couples are inferior to opposite-sex couples, and that Proposition 8 supporters were motivated either by nothing more than a fear of an unarticulated dislike of same-sex couples or by a moral view that there's something wrong with same-sex couples. In other words, folks, the district court ruled that anyone who, for any reason, including belief in the Bible, disagrees with so-called same-sex marriage, he's either irrational or a bigot. So much for the natural moral order. The practice of every civilization to restrict marriage to heterosexual couples is universal, and so much for the democratic process in which the people express their will in law. Folks, we've got to speak up. If this judge's ruling is upheld by the Ninth Circuit and eventually the Supreme Court, our Orthodox Christian faith will be legally defined as bigotry. Now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Judges do read the newspapers. 13 years ago, a case making assisted suicide legal reached the Supreme Court through the same Ninth Circuit. And the justices refused in that case to interfere with the democratic process, saying that there was an ongoing public debate that had to play itself out. I want you to share this 2-minute warning with your friends. I want you to read the introduction to the Alliance Defense Fund's brief to the Ninth Circuit. We've got a link below at colsonsenate.org. Get resources like an outstanding article by Alan Sears, the president of ADF, who's done such a great job in this case. You need to learn these arguments and share them with your neighbors. Talk about them in church. Write letters to the editor. Pass this email on to your friends. Keep this debate raging so the courts will not interfere. That's why we wrote the Manhattan Declaration, which was issued just a year ago. It is critically important. Read it again. Familiarize yourself with the arguments. Pass it on to friends. I'm going to do everything personally, humanly possible, to fuel a movement that will stop this travesty. Because I don't want to look back a year from now, if so-called gay marriage has made the law of the land, and think there was anything I failed to do. You don't want to either, because what is at stake is nothing less than our religious liberty. Let's get busy. I'm Chuck Colson. That's this week's 2-Minute Warning.